Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2026 Royal Ascot preview brought to you by textbet, the smarter way to place your bets via WhatsApp. It's one of the biggest betting weeks of the year, and it is finally upon us. We shall be taking an in-depth look at every day of Royal Ascot, discussing the key races, the strongest form lines, the best value opportunities, and most importantly, the horses we are backing throughout the week. And for this Royal Ascot episode, I'm delighted to be joined by both Jordan Hopkins and Steve Ryder, two experts of the game. On to Friday we go then, and the Commonwealth Cup is the first race to look at, the Group 1 3-year-old sprinters. And I'm just going to get the race up now. It's been won by some very good horses in the past, and hopefully we'll get similar again. Obviously, Venetian Sun is a very short price for Carl Burke after absolutely bolting in the Sandy Lane. Albert Einstein doesn't look like True Love's going to run here. Koppel, Savannah Anna, Charles Darwin, Sabre Strike, fascinating run for William Aggis. We can go further down the list to others with good chances too. Steve, straight back to you here. Commonwealth Cup, Venetian Sun, do you think she's the winner?
Yeah, I do, to be honest. Quite boring. 4 from 4 over 6 furlongs, beat division, was really impressive. I thought in the Sandy Lane last time, was still keen. Like, if you've been training her for a Guineas horse, you drop her down to 6 and she's still keen and still goes on to win by 3 lengths. Like, she's some filly. Won the Albany at the meeting last year, so she knows she's going to handle the track. And I thought she was fairly bomb-proof, to be honest. I'd have given True Love a chance if it had dropped down to Commonwealth. I thought with the news that Precise was going to miss the Oaks and head into the Coronation instead, that they might drop her back down in trip, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Koppel will obviously has got that course and distance form on the Pavilion Stakes on his reappearance, but I really do, for the favourites in the week, I do think Venetian Sun is rock solid.
Yeah, I rather agree. I mean, I was actually at Haydock when she won the Sandy Lane, and how often do you see a horse take a pull or a jockey take a pull on the horse in the 6 furlong group race? I mean, it basically just doesn't happen. And Clifford Lee, who doesn't really take pulls very often because he's quite a sort of animated rider generally, has taken one there. Goodness me, she was good, wasn't she? I think it will take. So I just hope it's one of those races that has a big field and then it's really draw dependent, because that's the only real way I can see her getting beat. The other one I wanted to mention was Sabre Strike, because if he runs in this race, I think he's a really exciting horse. The race he won at Newmarket last time when he beat Cerro Blanco and Andrew Gordon's Stellar Sunrise back in third, who hasn't actually gone on for that, but sent off 5-4 favourite that day and has got some very smart form, both at 103. That was the King Charles II stakes. It was a really nice effort, given he hadn't been on the track since November. He still looks a little bit green, I thought, but he won really nicely. 6 furlongs at Ascot, I think, would be perfect for him. He's got a lot of speed, but the stiff track will help him because he obviously stays 7. And he'd be really interesting. He'd be my idea of finishing second to Venetian Sun. But Jordan, I think the favourite's going to be too strong here. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm just going through it now. We're basically on completely the same lines to kind of get to cut to the chase. But I you're just going through the list and you just think like that can't beat her, that can't beat her, that can't beat her, that can't beat her. Kind of thing. Like I think she'll probably win from any draw. She might win if she gives them a couple of lengths. Like I think she's probably that far clear. Maybe Albert Einstein, but I mean, you're kind of clutching at straws in a sense with him at this point. Obviously, you've got to respect the operation, and they've obviously always kind of been quite vocal about how highly they regard him. So maybe he's got like a massive performance in his locker, but I would say Venetian is almost nailed on to start a shade of odds on the day. So yeah, she'd be hard to beat. I think Sabre Strike is basically confirmed for Jersey.
Is he going to go Jersey? Fair enough.
Yeah, which is a little bit annoying because I did have a little bet on him immediately after Newmarket for the Commonwealth Cup just in case he ran. But yeah, I would say obviously we'll come on to the Jersey, so I'll stop talking about him. But that race at Newmarket, I think Sabre Strike and Cerro Blanco will both win a group. Sorry, my dog is currently coughing. I don't know if you can hear that. Sabre Strike and Cerro Blanco, I think both will win a Group 1 by the end of their careers, probably fairly soon for the pair of them. And I wouldn't be too worried about Stellar Sunrise. I was at Epsom on the weekend. He was a pretty clear standout in the paddock, maybe bar Joseph O'Brien's horse. He went down to post quite short, and I just think he kind of got stuck in the ground a bit. He's quite an easy moving horse. And I would say, particularly given the fact that he was so well bet to beat those two at Newmarket to the point where it was kind of crazy. He went off a crazy short price, really. So he's clearly putting up trees at home, and I'm sure Andrew can get to the bottom of at the bottom of him and get him going the right way. Andrew Balding, that is. I don't know why I'm talking like first name terms with Mr. Balding.
Didn't think you meant Prince Andrew, don't worry.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'd completely agree. I think if Saberstrike if they did change their minds, which to be honest, if he was mine, I'd run him in this because I just think like it's a very good chance of winning a Group One, and you don't really get too many of those. But yeah, he'd probably be nearly a favourite's chance in the jersey, so you can kind of understand going there. And the only other one was Into the Sky, but that's going for the jersey as well. So yeah, similar thing for him. I probably would have ran him in the Commonwealth, but I can understand why they want to go for the jersey. Jersey's probably going to be one of the most competitive races of the week, nearly.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk so much sense, Jordan, that your dogs are barking in agreement, which is great to hear.
I'm not sure he said bark. Like he's quite an old chap, and you couldn't really describe
Fluttering
it
in
as bark.
agreement.
Yeah, he's trying to. Yeah, I don't know what he's doing, to be honest. Hopefully, it didn't come on the camera, mic.
We'll move on to the Group 1 for fillies, 3-year-old fillies. That is the Coronation, which is the other big Group 1 of the day. I'll actually start here because Precise is a very short price, around about even money to win this, and no doubt she's going to be hard to beat. But I'm going to have a little bit of money on Valentina each way at around about 25 to 1 for Donica O'Brien. You might remember, won the Juvenile Fillies Turf last year at Del Mar. It was her first start over a mile. I think it really improved her. I don't think there was any fluke about that performance. She stayed on very strongly and showed a lovely turn at foot. She'll want quick ground, no doubt about that. She finished third behind Venetian Sun in the Albany last year, over 6 furlongs. That was a mighty run at 40 to 1. But I think a mile is going to be the making of her. Now, I don't know if either of you know if there's been a bit of a hold up about her, or whether they just decided to target the Coronation first time up. I'm not sure why we haven't seen her since. But if she is on song, ready to go, I think there's going to be a huge amount of upside for her this season over a mile. And I do like her going forward. And I don't think, apart from the favourite and second favourite, apart from favourite, doesn't look the strongest Coronation in the world to me, to be honest. And I think this is a race ripe for a horse making good ground each way. And I think she's a big price at 25 to 1. So I'll go with Valentina for this. Jordan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we've agreed on a lot of things. I pretty much fully agree on that.
Nice. That's good to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll see. Precise, I think Precise is going to be so hard to beat. Like, she was so impressive in the Guineas. And yeah, like, as much as she's obviously got the Newmarket form to overturn with True Love, if True Love does indeed come here, yeah, I think she's definitely one to beat. She'll be going off odds on, and she'll be hard to beat. Valentine is very interesting. There isn't sadly, there's not really much depth to the race, really, is there? Like, you've got the prettiest, but I just can't see her winning, to be honest. She's a good horse, but she's probably not going to beat Precise or True Love. Abashiri, is she going to run? Like, I had her down as an Oaks filly. I'm still kind of a bit surprised as to why they didn't go for the Oaks, because I don't know, Charlie Appleby would be, well, he'd know much more than me about anything about racing, including this filly. But I'd backed her for the Oaks. I thought she was a pretty decent bet for that, but I don't think she'll win this. I just think Precise, but the top two will both be too good for her. So yeah, we shall see. But yeah, there isn't really much left in it. I was trying to find something clever each way, but I think you're better off just backing Precise and collecting to pay for the fuel.
Fair enough. Steve, I'm hoping you agree with me on Valentina.
Well, Porta Fortuna managed to do it for the same connections, didn't she?
Exactly.
I really like So Regal as a horse. I don't know if I'm here or whether they're going to go for the Sandringham, because she's rated 101, and I think they ran a filly off mark of 103 a couple of years ago in the race. She's incredibly well bred. Jordan's touched on the ground. She'd want fast ground. She's by Kingman out of Queen's Trust, who obviously won at the Breeders' Cup. Now, she's impressive on her first 2 starts so far this season, including over this course and distance. A month ago, was given, let's call it, a bold front-running ride by Danny Tudhope at York, and might have gone slightly too soon. Run down late by Lilt, who has a good chance in the Diane at the weekend, so that form can be boosted. But I do think she's a really, really good filly. She's a bit quirky. Like, Ryan Moore didn't touch her with a whip on her first 2 starts this season, and when Danny Tudhope made his move, she then seemed to kind of resent a whip late on. So she's definitely got her quirks, but I think she's ultra talented. I kind of hope that they go for the Sandringham off a mark of 101, if I'm being honest, because this is a really good race, and whether she'll be able to beat Precise is another question mark. And she's kind of got the same mould as Lake Victoria from a couple of years ago, hasn't she? Stepped forward from an interrupted prep at Newmarket to go and win the Irish 1000 in impressive style. But yeah, So Regal for me, if she's to run here, I would take a small little each way go on.
Yeah, she's one of those, isn't she? I think they really like her at home. I think they hold her in a lot of regard. So yeah, fingers crossed she can continue to improve. The other races on the day, the big race, I suppose, the other big race of the day, the King of the Seventh. So I'm going to put that in with the rest. The Albany, the Duke of Edinburgh, the Sandringham, King Edward, and the Palace of Holyrood House. You heard from Dylan talking about that one earlier with Blue Baker, or Baker Blue. I think it's Baker Blue, isn't it? Might have got the
Yeah.
yes, I got the words. But Blue Baker is a British tennis player. Steve, back to you. Anything else on Friday?
Yeah, I think Water to Wine will win the King Edward the seventh stakes, the Ascot Derby, some people will call it. If you look back, that form's worked out well, hasn't it? Beat Alderman by 4.25 lengths on his debut at Newbury. That rival was only beaten 7 lengths when fifth in the Derby on his next Water to Wine. They went to Kempton, won comfortably by 11 lengths, was definitely still learning that day as well. Ryan Moore did his best to try and teach him a few things under a penalty that day. I just think, yeah, he's probably going to go on and win the King Edward. The Albany Sun Goddess that heads the market, she was really impressive at the Curragh on her second start. That race is a good record for the Albany. If you look, Ballantina won it last year, finished third in the Albany. Heaven's Gate in 2024 won it, finished third in the Albany. Year before that, Matrika won it, finished second in the Albany. Then you go back all the way to 2016 and Brave Anna won it for Aidan O'Brien before winning the Albany. So that's got a really good record going forward into this race. She won that by 5 lengths. She'd finished previously a second behind Carry the Flag, who's a strong contender for the Norfolk Stakes, having finished second behind Great Barrier Reef in the Marble Hill last time. So it's kind of similar collateral form to what Stard and True Love had last year. So if you're going to do kind of one of those doubles, you might want to put Sun Goddess in the Albany and Carry the Flag in the Norfolk in a little related double based on that form line. And then just the other race to touch on would be the Duke of Edinburgh, if opportunity for a run here. But I made that case for him in the Copper Horse as well.
Yeah, nicely done, Steve. I agree with Horse to Wine. I think he's going to take all the beating that came out the seventh. I mean, it was a shame we didn't see him in the Derby. Although I suppose connections now, having seen the conditions of the race and the water, I suppose, that they ran through, might be quite pleased to have avoided it. Yeah, thought he was brilliant at Kempton last time, despite being as keen as mustard the entire way, putting Ryan Moore's hands out, which doesn't happen very often. Not very often that Ryan Moore is bested by a horse being keen, but he certainly was that day, and he still went further clear. He's got so much talent in this horse. Jordan, what about you for the rest of Friday?
Yeah, to be honest with you, when I said Protection Act was my nap of the week, I actually kind of forgot about Water to Wine in this. So I'll demote Protection Act to next best.
We've got a double. We've got to do a double. We've got a double for them both.
We'll have a double, yeah. Why not? We'll have a double and pay for a holiday. Yeah, I actually think he's got to go and do it, but I think he's nearly the best 3-year-old in England. Potentially, like I just thought he was so impressive in that maiden at Newbury, and obviously that form's kind of been franked well now. As much as it was on a battered track, and we're probably going to end up picking holes through that Derby form as the year goes on, I think, sadly. But you can't really take too much away from Alderman. I mean, they've ran him in the Derby rated, what was he rated? 83, and he's ran 5th, so fair play to them. Obviously knew what they had. I was trying to think like what's going to kind of line up against him here, but they're going to have to go some clip to beat him. I think he's a serious tool. So it'd be interesting to see what price we get on him. Obviously we won't know until entry stage on that one. What else did I have a view on? Duke of Edinburgh, yeah, obviously we both touched on opportunity. I actually kind of forgot about that race because I agree with Steve. I think I'd rather back him in the Copper Horse, but I've just got a funny feeling they're going to go for the Duke of Edinburgh. I don't know. Like, obviously he's won over a mile. He's gone a mile 4. They've dropped him back to a mile 3. And yeah, I don't know. It's trying to get into William Haggis's head, but the Copper Horse being a 0 to 100 and him being top weight in that, and it potentially being a little bit thinner of a race, perhaps they'll go for that. And yeah, I think he'd be one of the better bets in handicaps of the week. Hopefully he's not too over bet because I think he'll be popular. And then I'll just touch on Baker Blue actually. So obviously we've heard from Dylan, but he didn't really go into too much depth on this horse in a sense. Like he beat a horse called Fortification at Wolverhampton 2 starts ago by 5 lengths. It was a bit of a kind of a non-event really in the end. He just made all and kind of just run them all ragged. But Fortification has since switched hands to Brian Ellison, and Brian thinks he's the fastest horse in his yard. I think he came out after a York interview at York, and he was kind of like, never seen the man so happy, or never seen a man so happy to have robbed this horse from an online sale. So fair play to them. A couple of people I know actually were bidding on him, and one of them underbid him, so they were particularly sick. but that form's kind of looking all right now. And he ran in a listed race at Deauville last time, and like they went off like the clappers in front, and I just think he was. You can just put a line through that. I think Harriet Bethel had a horse and Dylan's, and they both just went off so hard in front and just faded away. And it would have maybe looked like kind of Baker Blue didn't deserve to run in that race afterwards, but like on his homework and ability, he absolutely did. And I just think if he'd have maybe just been slightly more patiently ridden, he'd have gone closer in that. So he's got every right to be in that race on the Friday next week. And yeah, as much as it's a cavalry charge, I think he'll run a big race, and he'll probably be a massive price now because people will just see that run in France and just put a line through him, but don't basically because he's a good horse.
Okay. Good stuff, Jordan. Yeah, really interesting thoughts. I guess your best bet would be Wolves Wine then?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And for you, Steve?
Yeah, it would be unless they run So Regal in the Sandringham, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, Wolves Wine for me as well. So 3 across the board. Right, we're going to have to rush through Saturday because you're running out of time. Try and be as salient as possible with these. The Jubilee we're going to start with, and we touched on Jolie Star being top of the market earlier on. Likely she's going to run this race and not the King Charles. Satona Rev, Comanche Brave, Lugal, Sagier, we go down the list. Steve, come back to you for this one. Any thoughts on this race?
I thought Satona Rev was probably the one to be with, second, beaten half a length by Lazat in this last year. Went on to win the Grade 1 in Japan, then finished second behind Kayan Rising. Has had the same prep as last year. There's no Lazat this year. Pulled 3 lengths clear of Flora Bermuda. Last year, she won on her reappearance on Guinea's Day, and it's interesting to see who James Doyle will ride between her and Kinda Blue, who I thought ran a lovely race on his comeback when second behind York specialist El Monjed. But for me, Satona Rev hasn't got the question marks about the track where the Aussie horse has. And yeah, I thought he's probably the one to beat in this.
100% agree. Hard agree with Turner. I think he's got a mighty chance of winning again. He's kept in form really well so far this season, returning with that victory in Group 1 and then running behind Kayan Rising. And I think given how well he ran behind Lazat, I'm with you, Steve. I think he's the one to beat. Jordan, what about you?
Yeah, I touched on the fact that I had a good friend down under that is a really decent judge, and he's basically told me as soon as it was kind of pointed towards the race, this mare to basically be on. She obviously she has to deal with like the travel and the occasion and the as Steve like rightly mentioned the track and potentially might not suit her as much as like it's going to be a different challenge to what she's faced at home, but she's clearly very, very, very good. I'm not sure I'm going to want to be on it probably as short of a price as she's going to be on the day, but I have been having a little bit on her over the last kind of 4 or 5 months. So hopefully she wins. Will be my assessment on that. And I wouldn't really have a big view on anything else in the race really, to be honest. I just thought she's going to be quite difficult to beat. Obviously, yeah, you're right with Satona Rev, and you'd have to respect Lugal as well, but I think if she can translate her form from down under, she's going to be very hard to beat, basically.
Yeah, well, 4 or 5 months in the making, Jordan. Good luck.
Yeah,
with
well,
Jolie Star.
I've made that sound like I've backed us for a house deposit. I haven't. But, yeah, it'll be all right.
Good man. Okay, the other race I'm just going to pile into one for Saturday. The Norfolk, the Hardwick, not entirely sure who's going to run in either of those yet. Same with the Jersey, got more of an idea perhaps. The Golden Gates and the Queen Alex, and of course the big handicap of the day, that's the Wokingham. Steve, back to you. Anything else on the day? It's a glittering afternoon on Saturday, isn't it, of the undercard?
Yeah, so I made the case for Ghostwriter in the Wolferton, but he could well obviously run in the Hardwick instead. He finished third in that last year and has good form from a couple of years ago against the likes of City of Troy and Calandagan. I think Kalpana, if she comes here, though, will probably be a worthy favourite. Just really good Ascot form on the filly and mares on Champions Day the last couple of years, and obviously was only beaten a length by Calandagan in the King George, so I can completely see her, but she'd prefer slightly softer ground. If it ends up coming up a bit faster, I'd probably go towards Ghostwriter if he was to run in that as well. The Wokingham's really interesting. So Double Rush has won the same 2 races that More Thunder did last year at Newmarket and then finished a second in this. If he were mine, I'd have given him a little bit of a break and come back for the July Cup, given that he's been so good at Newmarket personally, but they probably won't be able to resist the temptation of Royal Ascot. I thought Real Iron won well at Carlisle in first-time cheap pieces, would be £1 well in at the weights under a £5 penalty. I'm sure that there is a big sprint handicap in Purio Sangway this season. This horse is becoming my cliff horse. Finished 9th, but only beaten 4 lengths in it last year, with a mark of 103. Now runs off 96. And Go back and watch his run at Newbury last time. He was fourth, but beaten only a length, not getting a clear run on Jack Mitchell. He goes one way, gets blocked, goes the other way, gets blocked. And I think on a clearer run, he'd have won that day. He runs here off the same mark as a result, and he's clearly well handicapped off 96. I made the case for Carry the Flag and Sun Goddess, that collateral form. I'd back him in the Norfolk, drop down to 5 furlongs. Great Barrier Reef is their Coventry horse, apparently, for the Aidan O'Brien team over 6. They ran over 6 last time. Carry the Flag looked as if he had him beat. This drop down to 5 furlong for the Norfolk will be perfect for him. You've got the Jersey, Sabre Strike. You've touched on him a load. I think he'll going to prove hard to beat in that. Beat Cerro Blanco last time. And then I also touched on Princeling in the Britannia. He could also go for the Golden Gates, the 3-year-old handicap over Marlin 2 on Saturday as well. So lots of horses that I've mentioned for other races, they could well all pitch up on Saturday.
Yeah, interesting stuff, Steve. I'm just going to put forward 2 who I like in the Wokingham, one of whom probably won't get in, but I hope he does. Acadian Thunder, drop back to 6 furlongs. He ran such a good race at Royal Ascot last year. And Fandom, who I like. He's got very strong back class, has Fandom. He's a pretty good horse earlier in his career. It all went to pot a little bit after that, but he really bounced back to form at York 2 starts ago and then a third last time. I think the setup of this race is going to suit Fandom. He will definitely get in because he's already in within the parameters. So yeah, fingers crossed he can run well. Jordan, anything else for Saturday?
Yeah, just a couple. Obviously, we've already mentioned Sabre Strike in the Jersey, who I think is going to have a pretty outstanding chance. I was just having to think about that though. If Cerro Blanco reopposed him there, I wouldn't be certain that he wouldn't be able to reverse the form. I just think like I don't know if either of you were there or if you've seen him. Like he's absolutely massive horse. Like he's probably one of the best looking horses I've ever seen, to be honest. Or at least like immediate impression in a paddock where you're just like, wow, like he's like an oil painting. And it's hard to make a strong case for the form being reversed, right? But I do think he's going to appreciate like just a flatter, stiffer, straight track than he did the undulations at Newmarket. Whereas Sabre Strike's probably just a slightly smaller, better balanced horse that might have handled those conditions better. I need to watch the race back to be honest, because I've only literally just thought of this now. But from memory, I don't think Sabre Strike actually even necessarily travelled that well himself and still won. So it's probably just like a I don't know. But anyway, I hope them two line up against each other, and I think that would be nice to see them race against each other again. And then the only other one I was going to mention was a horse called Tierra del Toro in the Golden Gates. He's not going to be that clever of a bet because he'll be a fairly short price, I'd imagine. He was third in the London Gold Cup last time, first run since being gelded, and I mean, I'll be as long as he's not done anything wrong in between, I'd be amazed if he doesn't line up in this and it isn't his target. He went up £2 for that. Like he was kind of given a pretty quiet ride, like in the sense that it was almost like let's try and get a couple of pounds here to get us into the Golden Gates, and that can be our derby. He is like he's Lope de Vega out the motivator mare. He's probably going to improve for further in time, and I'd say potentially he won't want it wrestling quick either. But he's a very nice horse, and if he doesn't win the Golden Gates, he will win a big pot Saturday handicap at some stage this year for 3-year-olds, I would say. So yeah, I'll be closely looking at him. But like with a lot of those 3-year-old handicaps, I don't think we touched on the King George V much, but you kind of need to see what ends up being entered before you have a think, because there'll be 5, 6, 7 horses that you've gone, all right, didn't even think of him, kind of thing. It'd be nice to have like a massive entry list so you could see what was kind of possibly running, as opposed to kind of thinking about what's running yourself, because it's hard to kind of nail horses down for podcasts like this for the handicaps. But he'll be one I'm very interested in for the Golden Gates anyway.
Yeah, sorry, Tom. I
nice.
forgot one there as well.
Cool.
For the same race, My Love Is King was obviously short price favourite for that London Gold Cup,
Yeah.
and he didn't end up running. He'd be another one that could well
Good shout.
run in that race as well. And obviously his next second to Maltese Cross has obviously boosted in the Derby as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
he's definitely well handicapped at 96. Anyway.
Yeah, I was about to say they think he's well handicapped, don't they, for sure. Great stuff, guys. Okay, best bet for Saturday. I'll go with Satona Rev in the Jubilee. Steve, what about you?
I would have done. Jordan slightly put me off, given the confidence behind the Aussie mare. I am going to go for Carry the Flag in the Norfolk. I just think the experience that he's had so far this season for a 2-year-old could well mean that he can be a bit more professional than others.
Okay, nice. And for you, Jordan?
I'm gonna go with Sabre Strike in the Jersey on the proviso that Cerro Blanco doesn't run. Otherwise, I might swap.
Okay, love that. Finally, lads, before I let you go, just nap of the week and lay of the week, if I could get from you. I'll go first. My nap of the week is Ancient Rome in the Royal Hunt Cup because I'm mental. And my lay of the week, I'm probably going to go with Precise just because she's such a short price and I do fancy Valentina up against her. So I'm hoping there's going to be a bit of an upset and Precise gets beat. So that's my lay of the week and my best bet. Jordan, for you?
Nap of the week would be Water to Wine on the Saturday. And lay of the week, geez, that'd be tough, really. Can you come back to me on that?
Yep.
I'm just
What do you
pondering
reckon?
it in my head.
Go on then, Steve. To you.
My nap, I'm hoping it'll be around even money. I don't think it'll get much bigger. It'll be Water or Wine in that King Edward. I think he is just going to win. My lay is Bo Echo in the St James's Palace because I do think there's 3 genuine Group 1 colts against him, and I thought he was trained for the minute for the Guineas. So yeah, Bo Echo around evens. I think rather than playing Stad, thinking about it in my head, I think I just prefer to lay Bo Echo around even money and have 3 running for me, as opposed to actually backing Stad at around sort of 5 to 2-ish.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I should probably caveat my nap by saying, were you allowed an each way nap? It's each way, obviously. Ancient Rome. Jordan, what about, go on, mate.
It's a little bit harsh on the horse because I do think he's very smart and probably will make me look an idiot. But I'm going to say lay Rahib out of a place in the Gold Cup just because I just think he might just not see the trip out, basically.
Yeah.
He's more of a kind of, I agree with Steve, more kind of like a mile 6 kind of classier speed horse, if you can say that for a stayer. And you've got Caballo de Mar, Sweet William Trawderman, like Al Riffer if he runs. Like there's a lot of horses that are probably almost definitely going to stay in that. And he's not a definite stayer, and you could probably lay him out of the frame at 1.9 on the day or something. So
yeah. The Goodwood Cup's the race for him, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, good shout. Yeah.
Gents, tremendous. We've covered plenty in that podcast, all things Royal Ascot. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you all of you at home for watching. If you haven't already, you can apply for your account at jointextbet.co.uk via the link in the description. So please do make sure you do that if you haven't already. And the last thing for me to say is best of luck with everything that you're backing and keeping on side at Royal Ascot. It's sure to be the best 5 days of the year on the flat, as it always is. Until next time from us here, it's goodbye.